How did you find out that the victim was leaving town the following day?
I can't remember that good.
Was it from a blog?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
It's not leading, Your Honor. Was it from a blog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what blog was that?
The blonde was Wendy.
No.
Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I said.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not
No
right.
further questions.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay, how is everybody? Want to talk today about Wendi Adelson, the Defiant, and her position of defiance in court when we last saw her in Charlie Adelson's trial. Why is she so defiant? She has immunity. Nothing she says can be held against her. It can't be used to investigate her. She can't end up in a worse position testifying under immunity than had she chosen not to testify and taken the fifth. That's the idea behind those Castigar law. So thought we'd take a look at it today, and from the position of perhaps this may be the only time we really see her testify. It may end with Donna, and don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand me. There is no one who would more like to see Wendi held accountable for her role in this. She remains an unindicted co-conspirator, but there's no one who would like to see her held accountable more than myself, but it may not go down that way. It's not something under our control, and it certainly has been a great loss to Wendi, you have to say, as far as losing her reputation, losing her career. And this was someone who was head of her class, graduating magna cum laude, always achieving. And now she's been reduced to a social pariah. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you what made me feel like maybe this won't happen as far as Wendi getting arrested in a second. But before I do, I wanted to look at your comments from last episode. Lomo Living 5528 says, I have always thought it was strange that Wendi acted oddly paranoid at the police station. She asked the officer multiple times how they found her at the restaurant when they picked her up. And when the officer was just agreeing with her during a conversation, Wendy mentions that she has a lot of friends. The officer nods along and says, I know, in a comforting way. Wendy snaps back and asks how the officer knows and how she has a lot of friends. You guys remember that part? I do. It's burned in my brain. Later, she then asks the advocate how the officer found her at the restaurant. To me, it seems as though she is a bit paranoid that the cops already may know something about her involvement. Why did she focus so much on the little things about the officer knowing about her life or already following her when she just learned that her ex was murdered? Yeah, really good point, Lomo Living. And she also is really fascinated that they towed her car. And the way I took that was that she didn't foresee that they would tow her car. It wasn't part of the plan. And I don't think it was part of her plan. I think she expected a call to be brought into the police station and have a little bit more of a heads up. And when they found her there, she was really shocked. It wasn't part of the plan. And you have to remember that this is a family that planned this out. The alibi, the geek squad was coming. Here's Donna telling her daughter that they're on their way. They had it planned out, they had it planned out to the letter. So it must have been really shocking for her to be found. But what I want to know is, why was she in that outfit? I mean, this is someone who is so polished, and she looks like she's ready to do some gardening in her backyard. Not to shame her on her looks. It's just, I'm used to seeing Wendy in public, except for that one Katie's second trial where her hair was a little frizzy, but generally she's always well dressed, well coiffed, well spoken, well mannered. And here she is looking really out of sorts. Was that part of the plan? In an owl t-shirt. And if you don't know the significance, we know that, was it Luis Rivera put up a picture on his social media of an owl and Katie told them to take it down? So just sort of like this owl imagery runs through this case. It's one of these odd things, another odd coincidence that runs through this case. Litmitdinka, I hope I said that correctly. Probably not. 1670 says, I wonder if Wendy was crying in the kitchen because it was too late to call off the murder, thus somehow calling it extortion by Charlie. So I don't think Wendy nor Donna nor Charlie ever thought of calling this off. I think that if anything, she may have been practicing. That's a really hopeful, optimistic way of looking at it, but I don't think she ever thought of calling it off, even to protect herself. I think this family is incredibly arrogant, and they also overestimate their own abilities, especially in this area. And I think, I mean, look at the posture on Donna. So I played a clip in the opening of Donna and the bump. Look how when she's approached, she's leaned forward towards the undercover cop. And when she finds out what it's concerning, she moves back. But it almost is like she thinks she's going to win the lottery or something, just by the body language. It's very interesting to look at. So I think they thought this was going to go great. And it did go great for them for years and years. This went unsolved. Everything looked like it was going to work out fine, no arrests until the bump. And that's when we saw Donna, according to Charlie, needing the Pepto-Bismol, having really high anxiety and massive diarrhea. Not to be too TMI there, but that's what happened according to Charlie. Stephen Appleyard, 5467, says, don't forget, Wendy, and he says she, but this is who he's talking about, deleted the calendar entry, fixed TV, and the text to Charlie, this is so sweet, between the murder and her pickup from the restaurant. Right. And then Wendy had that incredibly long explanation, very much like how Donna lies, too much information about how she gets rid of her to-do list. She uses her phone like a to-do list. And once she has done something in her calendar, she erases it. And somehow that's supposed to spill over to her text messages somehow. I'm not exactly sure how. I mean, was that something she needed to do? This is so sweet. And that's one of these mysteries in this case. What was he saying? And the way I imagine it, it's some kind of text message like, I know this is really hard for you. I've always got your back. Don't worry, we're in this together. And so there's a lot of talk on among people who follow this case as to who's ultimately the one driving this. Is it Wendy? Now, of course, the reason I think Wendy's involved, I explained ad nauseum in last episode. I just don't think that the family, here's the shorthand, I don't think the family would give this to Wendy as a gift without her knowledge of it. The fact that she drove by the crime scene is telling, shows her hand. I don't think that's a coincidence. And Charlie Adelson agrees with me. So they would have to be prepared for this to go wrong. Like, oh, we got you this gift of this murder by hire. Oh, you didn't want that to happen? You didn't want the father of your kids murdered? You can't return it. You can't undo it. I just can't see it like that. And you would think that if that had happened, she would have moved further away from her family. And instead, she's gotten closer. So this is what made me think. I just want to show you this clip. Ruth Markel, who I've interviewed, you can look for it in my Murder of Dan Markel playlist. She was on Court TV. And the way she answered this question, I found very interesting. And it made me think that maybe, and this is not something I want, it's not something I wish for, it just may be something that is. Please don't misunderstand me. It may be that Donna may be the end of the line in these prosecution in this case. So take a listen to the clip.
Yeah, what troubles me, it just seems that two smart people who have children, that there would be some, all right, we're splitting up, let's have a meeting. How do we break this to the children, and how do we make it as smooth as possible for them rather than this abrupt just up and leave? That part really, really bothers me. Did that bother Dan a lot?
You started out the show tonight realistically, actually talking about Donna, and Donna was the major interference. Okay, so this is not a normal relationship now. It's like, Princess Diana said there were 3 in the marriage, and there were 3 in the marriage, and that is the problem. When Wendy and Danny had agreements to take kosher food to the daycare, Donna was the one who came in and said, don't bother giving them tofu hot dogs. Don't do that. And then she takes them to McDonald's and gives them cheeseburgers. And then she disrupts the activities. And so you're not dealing with a couple. You're dealing with a threesome. And Donna liked to call the shots. Donna definitely organized, all of the activities of the family. I would say if you were writing a symphony, she wrote the score, she was the conductor, and she also played everybody's instrument. So I think that you're not dealing with a normal rift in a relationship.
Okay, so Donna's playing all the instruments. She's organizing it. So that's Ruth Markel's view. So you would think that what she's saying, that had it not been for Donna, this wouldn't have happened. So that Wendy wouldn't have done this on her own. And you could make the argument that none of this would have happened without Charlie. None of them had the means to do it without Charlie. And so then it makes a little bit more sense why Wendy's given this immunity, and that maybe they won't undo it with some kind of perjury charge, meaning the Castigar issues. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But when I heard that, I thought, if that's the people closest to this family, or one of the people closest to this family, and Dan Markel, the victim's family, if they're going to be satisfied with it, would they be satisfied? It sounds like they would. Ending with Donna, that is there anyone pushing for the Herculean task of it being having Wendy being prosecuted? I'd be very interested to hear what you think. I may just be in that kind of mood. It may just be winter in New York, and I may be feeling less optimistic than I usually am. I don't know. And tell me if that's what you saw. I'm really curious to hear your reaction, your thoughts. How would the whole city of Tallahassee feel? Feels like they're very invested and that they would riot if it ended at Donna, but I don't know. Another thing I want to talk about just before I take a quick break, and then we'll get into some clips. Into Wendy's testimony. I'm getting a lot of, or some comments. I wouldn't say a lot, some, and I'm very sensitive to them, about how mean I am, how mean my audience is for talking badly about unindicted co-conspirators in a murder for hire, or indicted, whether it's Donna or it's Wendy. And I just want to say this. If you are worried about the feelings of unindicted murderers, you have the wrong channel here. I come at this, I really used to think that you could have sort of the ideal thing would be to have compassion for all characters involved, but I find that it doesn't really work that way in true crime. That if you have a victim-centered podcast and you see it through the victim's point of view and the victim's family's point of view, then your compassion cannot spill over in an equal way to Wendy and Donna, and nor would I want it. And so I think that people like to sort of virtue signal and say you're a terrible person and malign me and my audience for using what we have, which is humor, satire, etc., to achieve some kind of justice in this case. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it right there. I don't think I need to say any more than that. But if you're looking for a lot of very sympathetic narratives and sympathetic episodes towards convicted murderers, accused murderers, unindicted murderers, this may not be the channel for you. All right, I'm going to take a quickie break. Oh, and before I do, I just want to say the Georgia Cappleman Appreciation Society is still going on Facebook. Really great people have joined the group. A lot of interesting posts, fun stuff going on in there. Look for us on Facebook. So, going to take a quick break. I'll meet you guys on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Thank you so much, MW. Let me get that up on the screen for this super sticker. Wow, what a good-looking German Shepherd. I really appreciate it. These super chats and your support, whether you're a patron or so many people have bought me a coffee. Thank you to everyone who bought me a coffee. Maybe I'll get my act together and list your names. I really appreciate it. Send me a Venmo. So appreciate it. Thank you very much. So shall we get into it? So this is pretty long. I don't know if we're going to get through all of this tonight, but I hope so. And not for nothing, but it is so incredibly, scarily windy here in New York. It's like, I feel like I'm in the scene from The Wizard of Oz with the house going up in a tornado. It's just, the wind is just whipping on the windows as I speak. So I hope that doesn't interfere with the stream. But if it does, stay where you are and I'll be right back. So isn't it infuriating to watch Wendy give an oath, take an oath, give an oath, take an oath? When you know what's coming, you know she's not going to honor that in any way. And she's going to say one unbelievable thing after the next. I had the same feeling watching Charlie Adelson. Just absolute fury watching it.
Ma'am, please say and spell your name.
Wendy Adelson, WendiAdelson.
Where are you?
Oh, I just cut her off right at the beginning. Thank you, Tammy. Gotta have humor. Why I think I love your content. So thank you. Thank you, Tammy. This might turn into a roast tonight. I'm in a mood. I really am. Thank you. MR says, Roberta, there is a footage on X of Wendy at Lincoln's Bar Mitzvah this morning. I know it says bot, but that's for a girl. I wouldn't expect you to know that, MR. This morning, breasts out and fake tears and all. Should we take I'll try to track that down. Love your show and you crack me up. I'm so glad I crack you up. All right. I will try to get a hold of that footage and maybe we'll look at it together. All right. Thank you, MR. All right. Back to Wendy just taking an oath, just starting her testimony in Charlie Adelson's trial.
Where are you from, Ms. Adelson?
I'm originally from Coral Springs, Florida.
And where do you live now?
I currently live in Miami.
How are you employed?
Now kind of part-time. I do asylum work and I fundraise for nonprofit organizations.
Are you an attorney?
By training, yes.
Okay. How long have you been a member of the Florida Bar?
Since I graduated and took the bar in 2006.
And are you here today pursuant to a subpoena?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that subpoena confers use and derivative use immunity to you, so nothing you say could be used against you in the future.
That is correct.
That doesn't mean you have full immunity from prosecution, but nothing you say here and nothing derived from it could be used in that prosecution. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Did you know Daniel Markel?
Yes.
How did you know him?
We were married.
When did you meet Mr. Markel?
We met in the fall of my second year of law school, so fall of 2004.
And where did you meet?
We met in Washington, D.C. He was working there, and I was looking into a summer job in Washington.
When did you get married?
In February of 2006.
And when did you live here in Tallahassee?
We lived in Tallahassee my third year of law school, so from August of 2005 until I think around maybe May or June of 2006. And then we moved to Miami for a year because Danny was interested in working at the University of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He did not get the job at University of Miami, and so we moved back here in 2007 and lived here until 2014.
And where were the two of your...
So she loves to say that he did not get the job. He was so incompetent, this doubly Harvard educated graduate from both undergrad and postgrad. By all accounts, extremely smart. He just couldn't get this job. But what I understand, she couldn't get the job because Wendy had to come with him and they didn't want Wendy in Miami.
You employed during the time you lived here in Tallahassee?
I was employed at the FSU Center for Human Rights, and Danny was employed at FSU Law School.
Were you both professors at FSU College of Law?
Yes.
And were you living on Trescott Drive at that time?
When we were married, we lived, I think we rented a house before that, but at some point, maybe in 2008, we moved to Trescott Drive.
And is that the home that he was still living in at the time that he was killed?
That is correct.
Okay, and you were no longer living there, is that correct?
I was no longer living there.
All right, at the time he was killed, you two had children together, yes?
Yes.
And how many children did you have?
We have 2 children.
And what are their ages now?
They are 13 and 14.
What about at the time of their dad's death?
At the time of their dad's death, they were 4 and 3.
When did you separate from Professor Markel?
In the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was my decision.
And was part of the reason for the separation the two of you having differing views on how to raise your kids as far as within the Jewish faith?
I mean, it was a small part, but it was part of it.
Okay, that seemed to be something that came up a lot in your communications, so that's why I ask about it. What was the difference of opinion on that?
I mean, when we first met and started dating, Danny...
It was a small part. This kosher thing was a small part. That's why it was a massive problem starting at our wedding. It was just a small part, guys. Just a small part. Just like the kosher style food. Just a small part.
And he wasn't as observant or as religious as he became over time. And so the difference in our perspective on raising kids was about dietary choices and attendance at synagogue, things like that.
So in general, he wanted to raise the children more strictly in terms of the faith than you.
That is correct.
Did you move out of the marital home while Mr. Markel was away on a business trip?
I did, yes.
All right. And did he know that you were moving out when he left for the business trip?
No, he did not.
Where did you go when you left the marital home?
I rented a home in Tallahassee.
Where was that? Do you remember the address?
Aqua Ridge Way.
3303 sound right?
That's right.
Okay. And what was the custody arrangement once you moved out of the marital home?
I mean, in the beginning, until we had a formal custody arrangement, we were just finding ways to share custody. I remember that first weekend his parents came, so I made sure he had the children all weekend while his parents were visiting from Canada. But eventually we had a 50-50 shared custody arrangement.
All right. And do you remember exactly what that looked like? Was it week on, week off, or something more complicated?
It was something more complicated. In the summertime, it was week on, week off. During the weeks, it was, I think, what they called like a 2-2 split, with Wednesday night being an overnight and then the weekends being every other weekend.
All right, but roughly 50-50.
50-50, but that was the split.
Okay. And I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 56. I know you've had a chance to take a look at this before, but if you'll just kind of thumb through it and tell me if you recognize it.
Sure.
Her son's friends would all be there. I mean, does she want to be sort of like the MILF of the synagogue? I mean, it just seems a little too much in my view. But of course, I know that there's going to be all these people saying I'm shaming and body shaming and SLUT shaming and all that stuff. But I'm just more conservative in this area. I think she should have dressed a little bit more like a mom and a little less like someone who's going to party at Studio 54 or the Limelight or anything where I know people don't really go out to dance the way they used to, at least not anymore here in New York.
Yes, I recognize it.
Okay, and that's the filing in reference to your motion for relocation?
Yes.
Okay, and did you file this motion with the intent to not be successful?
So now I'm thinking, like, what if they had like Donna Skyped in from the Leon County jail so she could be a part of the ceremony? Is that why they had it on the internet? So Donna could watch it? Lincoln, it's Donna. I'm on vacation right now in a terrible hotel room. They're just very bad with silverware here. I want to wish you a very happy Bar Mitzvah. And I'm so sorry I can't be with you. But these people are stupid where I'm at on vacation. Is that why it was online? It certainly wasn't online for the Markels. Can you imagine? In her turtle suit. Just let me have the full fantasy. I know she's off of watch, but can you imagine if she was Skyped in like we saw her when she was first picked up? Oh, that would have been so funny. Not that I would want Lincoln to go through that. It's just sort of the absurdity of the situation. You have your uncle is in prison. Your grandmother is in jail awaiting trial for killing your father. I mean, and here's the Bar Mitzvah public on YouTube. It's very defiant. I really named this episode correctly. It's like everything else that Wendy does. It's defiant. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I know that the people who watch this case are going to find it. Make it public. And I'm going to wear this dress that's going to make everybody look at me and make it about myself. I mean, they all should be looking at Lincoln. It's really like showing up to a wedding in a white dress. Why we don't do that? Because it's the bride's day. It's Lincoln's day. It's not Wendy's day. I mean, of course, you might have guessed. I love red. I think it's very pretty, but not for that occasion. In fact, I would never wear that dress. I'm just not someone who likes to, show my body parts. But okay, I understand some women do, but not at your son's bar mitzvah. Come on.
Sorry, I
It's
don't
been
understand the question.
suggested that you never thought that was going to be successful. Did you?
I
Or
think
not?
I thought there was a small chance that it would be successful, but not very likely. No.
Okay. And weren't you thinking, well, maybe Danny would be happy working somewhere else because he's mentioned applying elsewhere, so maybe he'll allow the relocation? Were you
Well,
thinking
he
that?
and I talked about the relocation. So when we talked about it, he thought, well, if I can live nearby in Miami, that might work. And then I could commute to FSU. I didn't mean for him to leave FSU, but he wanted to leave FSU at some point. So that
So
was just a matter of time.
So you thought it might be successful.
Sure. I mean, I thought it was possible, but not likely.
All right. And page 46 of that document, paragraph E references the job offer.
I'm sorry, I can't concentrate. All I can think about is Donna on a Skype call at Lincoln's bar mitzvah. Like, hey, it's Bubala. It's your Bubala. Lincoln, I just want you to know I'm totally innocent. Totally innocent. Your grandmother is totally innocent. She would never do such a thing. Never. And I just want you to have a wonderful, wonderful day. And when you come to visit me, I have half a Twinkie here for you. I've saved, like what is it from the commissary? I have some shower shoes. Dude. Oh, I mean, when has this ever happened? This case is so crazy. So crazy. I can barely concentrate on this testimony. All I'm thinking about is the craziness of broadcasting that bar mitzvah. Okay, maybe I've gotten it out of my system now.
Wife also desires to relocate to South Florida in order to provide a better quality of life for the children by increasing their access to close family and providing more stability and consistency. Who is the close family in South Florida?
The close family would have been my mom and my dad and my brother.
And which brother is that?
My brother that's here today.
Charlie Adelson?
That's correct.
Okay. What's your mom's name?
My mom's name is Donna.
Donna Adelson?
Yes, that's
What
her
a-
name.
What about your dad?
My dad's name is Harvey.
And where did Donna and Harvey live back in the time frame between 2012 and 2016?
They lived at the home I grew up in Coral Springs.
And how far do they live away from you currently as we sit here today?
Currently, depends on Miami traffic, but anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour.
Right. And what kind of a relationship do you have with your parents as we sit here today?
I have a good relationship with my parents.
And has that always been the case?
She's got a wonderful relationship with her parents. How dare you suggest otherwise? That we wouldn't be close after a murder. The murder all brought us closer, Georgia. This family, too much. I have she's a little bit overprotective, that Donna, but boy, can she plan a good murder.
I would say so.
Can you describe the relationship that your mom has with your boys?
I think it's very loving. I think she's a very dedicated grandmother.
She spends a lot of time with them, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
And when they were little and you first moved there after Danny's death, how much time was she spending with them?
When I moved there after Danny's death in 2014,
How much time was your mom spending with the boys?
I mean, we were all living together at that point. So, I mean, we were spending every day together.
How were your parents employed? Are they retired now?
They're retired now.
What are they retired from?
My dad was
We were spending every day together, joyously thinking back to how we planned the perfect murder and got away with it. That all brought us together. And also because I didn't really like dealing with my kids. I like the idea of my kids. I like saying that I'm a mother, but I really don't like the day-to-day. And not for nothing, there's a lot of motherhood I hear that's very difficult and not so much fun. But still, she really did love to pass off the hard work to her mom, and her mom was more than happy to pick it up. So it worked out perfectly for all of them. But can you imagine the conversations that went on in that home?
a dentist, and my mom used to coordinate, kind of be like an office administrator at his practice.
And did she write the checks at the practice? Paychecks?
Yes. Mm-hmm. She handled all the bookkeeping.
What was the name of the practice?
The name changed over the years, but probably the name when they retired was the Adelson Institute.
And were your parents wealthy at the
Oh, she gets it right here. In previous testimony, she's like, Harvey Adelson DDS? And George is like, no, you want to try again? Valedictorian, Miss Summa Cum Laude, graduate of Brandeis. Do you want to try again? And when mentioning, did your mom write the checks? Of course, this is what we expect to see in Donna's trial is the check she wrote for Katie McBanoa. And how is Rashi going to handle that? Oh, she thought she was doing cleanup work. She thought she was doing filing. What are they going to say? It was charity because she wanted her to have insurance for her kids. Katie's kids I'm talking about. I cannot wait for Donna's trial. It is, I don't think as a child I was as excited about Christmas as I am about this upcoming trial. Please, just please have it happen in this year. So I really thought it would be a while. Usually these kind of defense teams love to delay, but it looks like Donna wants it to happen very quickly. And Rashbaum is already familiar. Alex Morris, this other new lawyer that she has to get up to speed. But hopefully they won't delay and she will press on with her right to a speedy trial. It's just I just can't wait. I really hope Donna takes the stand. Please take the stand, Donna, please.
The time that your husband was murdered?
I mean, my parents worked their whole lives to support us, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the business did well for a period of time.
About $2 million in profit each year between 2013 and 2016. Sound right?
They never talked to me about money, so I have no idea how much the business made at any given point.
Did you discuss your marital problems with your mom at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay. What about the resulting legal issues? Was your mom read in on those things?
I mean, I definitely updated her about the results of the relocation when that petition got denied, but not kind of the ins and outs of every part of our divorce.
What about your dad? Was he invested in your divorce status?
I think the same as my mom, just worried about me and worried about the boys.
Mm-hmm. What about your brother? Did he take an interest in the ins and outs of your divorce?
No, not really.
Did he need to protect you from Dan Markel?
No, I mean, I don't think I need protection.
Were you physically in danger from Dan Markel?
No, I wasn't in danger.
Did the litigation revolving around the divorce and the subsequent issues that arose, did that impact your family back in South Florida?
I mean, only to the extent that I think they felt bad for what I was going through, but
I want to show you an exhibit that I've marked as State's Exhibit 59. Sorry, 57, Your Honor.
I think I've seen this one before as well. Does that one look familiar?
I don't remember it, to be honest. It's from 10 years ago.
Take a moment to look through it.
Sure.
When you're done, I'll let opposing counsel take a look at it, but go ahead and let us know when you're done reviewing it.
So I'm getting a question about Donna. Do I think from Mobile Tech, do I think Donna will give info about Wendy and or Charlie for a lighter sentence? Well, Georgia Kappelman would want to give Donna a lighter sentence. So it's not just Donna making that decision there. I think it's possible this is a family where everyone's out for themselves. Although they do come together, because I was talking to Murder by Maestro about the fact that if my mother asked me to contribute to my brother's, just say my brother was getting divorced, I would have trouble giving him, $1,000, let alone the huge amounts that they were all. Of course, I don't make anywhere near what Charlie Adelson was making at that time, but I just find it so odd that they were all willing to. They obviously all went in on the hit, I think, if not just by labor and whatever, but to have Dan, they were all willing to go up to $1 million. I find that bizarre. Anyway, back to your question. I don't think so. I think that would be admitting guilt. And I think that this is a family that will go to their grave claiming that they're innocent and they had nothing to do with it, just in the same way that Wendy lies. And I think Donna will lie in the same kind of way, blatantly, flagrantly. It's absolutely maddening to watch. I don't think no one likes being lied to, and juries like it even less. You're in a very kind of concentrated, almost like being in an airplane, being in court. Everything is magnified that you're looking at. And I can't imagine that they're going to if she takes the stand, like her testimony, like her lying to them. If Donna and you can see the way Georgia reacts to Wendy's unbelievable testimony. Look at the clip from the beginning. This is the first time you heard about this. I mean, remember when she's like reading, Katie McBanawa, and she's reading it like she's never met Katie. Was involved in this murder with my brother. I don't even know who my brother's charged with doing this with. So I don't think that'll go over well. So no, I think they're all going to say that they're innocent. And I think Donna's going to claim that the reason if her fleeing can even come into evidence, she's going to say, well, I saw that Charlie was wrongfully convicted. And I know that the fix was in Tallahassee, and that's why I had to go, because I thought I would be wrongfully convicted. And maybe she'll throw in a few ridiculous figures from the wrongful conviction movement about all these people that are exonerated, wrongfully convicted and exonerated. And they count any kind of getting out on a technicality because of some improper thing that went on in court, any other reason, political, anything. If you get out of prison, it's an exoneration to this movement. And she'll may quote some figures. I'm looking forward to that very much. I hope that she takes the stand. But yeah, I can imagine her saying, yeah, I had to flee. It was my only chance to spend my senior years. And I think she's going to really hone in and hammer home that fact that she's a senior citizen, et cetera, et cetera. Feel sorry for me. Very much like we saw Harvey Weinstein come in with a walker, Bill Cosby come into his trial blinder than he's ever been. That these guilty, in my opinion, these guilty defendants, their health takes a dramatic turn downward as they enter court. So did you guys all hear the call where Charlie is, I can't remember who he was talking to, but he describes how Wendy came in the courtroom and he thought she was just a hot chick and that was smiling at him, and he smiled and flirted with her and thought, this girl really likes me. I don't remember what words he used. It's always something demeaning, some demeaning description in relation to women with him. He seems to really not like women. And then he says, and then I said, who's that girl? And Rashbaum says, oh, that's your sister. So the point of that story was that Charlie didn't recognize his own sister. You guys remember that? Is this just a tall tale he's telling from prison? And they do have a very odd relationship, almost more like lovers. Like when when Wendy is asked if she thinks her brother's good looking, she's like, oh, she giggles and smiles. And it's like almost like she's being asked about someone she has a crush on. It's so odd and off-putting. What was the point of that story? Is it just for us to believe that he's been in jail so long he's forgotten what his own family members look like? Is it supposed to invoke sympathy for him? I don't know. What do you think? It's so odd. Wow, not for nothing, but she's taking a long time with these papers. It's like, what is she, scrapbooking or something? That's what it feels like.
Okay.
emails between you and your mother?
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me. No?
Okay. Mostly all from your mom.
Yeah.
Okay. And the email address says, I think it's something like Wendy Harvey. Can you tell from the content that it's your mom typing rather than your dad?
Yeah, the email's Donna Harvey, my two parents' names. So they've been married over 50 years. So they have a joint email address. So it's from both of them.
Okay. So what I want to draw your attention to is page 2 of that exhibit, that first paragraph there above the word
My parents have been married over 50 years, so they're almost like one organism now. I come from such a good family. That's what she means. Such a good family that they share everything, even email addresses, guys. So trust my testimony, my totally unbelievable, outrageous testimony. Trust every word, because I come from a good family with a good pedigree. All the great schools I graduated from. Trust this totally ridiculous, outrageous, lying testimony, in my opinion.
response. Did you have an opportunity to read that?
I read it real fast,
Kind of
but
scanned.
I can
And,
read it.
and what I want to draw your attention to is specifically the part that reads, your father has made numerous trips by plane for weekends and changing the patient schedules around so he can continue to spend significant time with the children. Did you?
Are you objecting, Mr. Rauschenberg?
I just didn't hear it get admitted into evidence.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to move this exhibit into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's 57.
57 is admitted. Go ahead.
Thank you. So that paragraph, isn't that paragraph going into detail about how the issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here. Yes.
Okay. And it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father.
So did you guys catch that eye roll from Charlie? Did you see it? Check it out. Hold on, let me see if I can go back. So it didn't get admitted into evidence. Rashi points that out. And then there's Charlie rolling his eyes like so teenagerish, like, come on, guys. It's so ridiculous that me, Charlie Adelson, the periodontist, would do this crime. And I have to have my family dragged in here, my sister, my own sister dragged in here, and my whole family life exposed in this trial when I didn't do anything. Just check it out. It's just a little moment.
Isn't that paragraph going into detail about how the issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here. Yes.
Okay.
Did you guys catch that? It wasn't really an eye roll. It was an eye widening. They're like, oh, interesting.
Okay. And it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father in mid-July 2012. He has a monthly payment to make to my father based on the sale of the practice. It isn't fair to him to have decreasing monthly income statements from the practice due to my parents spending so much time here in Tallahassee. So this is an argument that your mom is proposing, right, to help you, give you an idea of what might persuade the courts to allow the relocation. Do you agree with that?
Yes. That's what she was doing. Yes.
Okay. And she's indicating that both your parents as well as your brother have suffered financially as a result of you not being able to relocate.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that? The whole family has suffered, especially when you go into Charlie Adelson's finances. He was saying in his jailhouse calls, he was so offended that the state tried to make him look like he had $5 million when he only had $3 million, which by anyone's standards, I think we would all say between $3 and $5 million. When you have that much money, you're doing pretty well. And that they were suffering financially. That was one of Donna's arguments, and that the children could do, meaning her grandchildren, could do so much better with the familiar support that they'd have in Miami, and that a judge would really be able to see that if you make that argument and really press it. And what I found really interesting about Donna's emails, besides the things that everybody talks about, which is this idea that they all have to win, that this is a war, that they have to win, and to lose would be to beat the Adelson family. She's like, the Adelson family hasn't been beaten yet. And I think that what's more interesting to me about it is she's saying that to convert the kids to Christianity or Catholicism would impress the judge, because she had already gone full stalker on the judge and looked her up and discovered that she was I think she describes her as a Christian Black lady, and she would be very amenable to Wendy being Christian too. So that was part of the strategy there. So it wasn't just to hurt Dan, it was to get an in with the judge. Jay Cash, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Okay. And on page, do you have page numbers in the bottom right corner of your exhibit?
I have them in the top so I can see.
Okay, so well, let me look. Give me a moment. So it'll be the second email in your packet, page 1 of 3.
Okay,
Do you see that?
I see that page.
Okay, and there's a rest of your life highlighted or underlined in the center and in bold. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, right before that, it reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's her.
Wow, watch the color just drain out of Charlie Adelson's face there as he plays with his eye and he says something under his breath. It's just so unusual that you see a defendant like this, so expressive. Usually they have no emotion, steely face, mask-like face, and they go through the whole trial like this. It's so unusual to see a defendant like this. And Donna is the same way. It's odd, just mouthing things, mouthing off to the point where the judge had to be like, Judge Everett had to be like, look, Mrs. Adelson, please let your lawyer speak for you. And people were asking me why she picked Rashbaum. Well, my feeling is not because he's such a good lawyer, although, hold on, I have to cough. Even though I think she has convinced herself because he's hitched himself to meaning Rashi's hitched himself to the Adelson family, they think he's the best of the best because anyone associated with their family has to be the best of the best. But also that he's given a lot of attention and time, probably answering Donna's phone calls and text messages and emails, because she's very self-centered and narcissistic, and she needs a lot of narcissistic supply, and he's probably provided that. He knows where his bread is buttered, in my opinion, Rashi, and he probably really catered to her. But the other reason is I think she's become so paranoid that she wants someone within the circle of trust. And so that Alex Morris, the other lawyer, is someone that Rashi trusts, so that she can only trust someone who's already in the circle of trust. And this must have started very early on after the murder, that we're this kind of group. We all know what happened. We all could bring each other down. We all have to stay close. No one talk. No one say anything. We're all going to talk in code. And we're all going to meet at my house. If we have to say anything, calling on landlines. So I think that this kind of paranoid mindset is her norm now.
Referring to Danny.
And was Gibbers a name he went by, or just something you called him behind his back?
Gibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Okay, so not something you called him to his face.
No.
But that was a word that was only used to describe him.
Yes, it was a nickname.
Okay. So in this, again, your mom is referencing how everyone's life is being affected by this relocation, including your brother, Charlie. Do you agree with that?
That is what she said, yes.
All right. Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were single?
I think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Okay. For example, isn't it true that she would not let you drive to and from Tallahassee to South Florida?
Well, I used to drive before I had the boys, but they were young and she preferred to come with me and give me some extra support.
So what would that look like if you were going to take a trip to South Florida? Would they come up here and get you, or?
No, sometimes I would go myself with the kids, but I was breastfeeding both of them. So it usually looked like me breastfeeding a child while I entertained the other in the Okahumpka rest stop. So it was a lot. It was helpful to have some backup.
All right.
I hear this is a total lie from people who work this out, that she could not have been breastfeeding at this time. But she needs support driving. Never once did my mother suggest, and I drove a lot from Sarah Lawrence home to Pennsylvania in college. Boy, did I drive a lot back and forth. And never did my mother say, and that was not the 7-hour drive, you need some support. Not like I needed help sharing the driving. That would be a better answer. She needed support while she drove. I mean, it's so outrageous to me that her parents would do that. They didn't want her driving alone. And I guess she didn't want to fly with the two kids. I really don't understand why they didn't fly more often. Maybe she wanted her car in Miami, didn't want to rent a car. I have no idea. It just seems odd to me, the whole thing. But her mother was giving her support on the 7-hour drive from Tallahassee to Miami. Wild. Oh, a full-grown woman, not a teenager, not a young adult, full-grown woman. Talk about it, infantilize.
Right. And so that time frame you'd be referencing is like the 2013 time frame, because not around the time of Danny's death you wouldn't have still been breastfeeding, would you?
If Lincoln was 3, no, I would have stopped maybe the year before.
Okay.
So maybe 2012, 2013.
Okay. And wasn't it true that around the time of the death, they were still doing this practice where they would prefer to drive you to and from South Florida?
I mean, not every time, but sometimes.
Okay. And would your mom sometimes enlist your brother Charlie to convince you to do certain things in your personal life?
Can't really think of an example of that.
Well, dating Dave was a big one on some of the materials I had.
Yeah, people like Dave.
All right. And your mom really liked Dave.
Yeah, everyone liked Dave, but we were just friends.
Okay.
There's a really interesting video about Dave. I believe it's on Gibbers, GHIBERCZ's channel. where he's telling a really creepy joke to, I believe it's the Charlie's baby's mama. She's not in the shot, but and apparently he's around often in these chats, sticking up for Wendy, sticking up for the Adelson family. So he's still on Team Adelson, but very telling video on Gibber's channel. Check it out.
Did she try? So she would try to get Charlie to convince you to date a certain person.
I don't think she was getting Charlie to convince me to date Dave. I think everyone liked Dave.
All right. And would she try to get Charlie to convince you to do certain things as far as your professional life? What jobs to take?
No, I don't
She
think
didn't
so.
do that. Would she try to get...
I need a lip reader. If anybody reads lips, what is Charlie saying here? Hold on. Let me know in the chat right here to Rashi.
Would try to get Charlie to convince you to date a certain person.
I don't think she was getting Charlie to convince me to date Dave. I think everyone liked Dave.
All right. And would she try to get Charlie to convince you to do certain things as far as your professional life? What jobs to take?
No, I don't
She
think
didn't
so.
do that. Would she try to get Charlie to do certain things like advise you on investment decisions, whether or not you were going to buy a house, for example?
I don't think so. I don't remember that. Danny and I made that decision together.
Once you had left Dan and you were living separately, did you look into purchasing a home here in Tallahassee?
I did, yeah.
And did your brother Charlie convince you not to do that?
I don't remember him convincing me not to. The only reason why I didn't was because I was waiting on the money from Danny from the settlement and he didn't pay it, so I couldn't afford the house.
And your mom didn't want you to buy the house, did she?
That's not true. My parents were looking to buy a house in Tallahassee as well.
Okay. Did you have...
My understanding, for those asking about Dave, is he's some businessman. So, of course, with this family where money is everything, and that was another part of Donna's argument, is that the kids could have so many more advantages, meaning they could have the advantage of the Adelsons' tremendous wealth here in Miami than they could in Tallahassee. And I just saw an interesting comment saying, I'm a Jew who moved to Tallahassee, and my family thought I was leaving civilization. That was very interesting when I moved to Tallahassee. So I can see the Adelsons looking down on Tallahassee, certainly by the phone calls between Charlie and Donna. They really put down Tallahassee, even though it's the capital of Florida. And they say that Charlie calls the people inbred and Donna calls the people stupid, at least the people on his jury. The stupid Charlie, the stupid. It's always so much hysteria with Donna. You really have to do it with a proper amount of hysteria. Oh.
Strike. Generally speaking, does your mom manipulate the personal lives of her children?
No.
Is your mom, like, if she's really upset about something or worked up about something, is that something that your brother Charlie's going to hear a lot about? Who's going to hear more of it, you or Charlie?
Well, if my mom's upset with me, probably Charlie. And if she's upset with Charlie, probably me.
Okay, so do you get a lot of that? Do you hear a lot about, let's go back. Let's go to before the murder. Did you get a lot of Donna just giving you an earful about what Charlie needs to be doing?
Probably at some point.
What was Charlie doing with his personal life? What did his personal life look like?
At what point?
Before the murder.
I mean, at what period of time before?
All of them. Wasn't it just a revolving door of girlfriends?
Right, but my mom didn't complain to me about that.
She didn't mind that with him.
No, and here you see Charlie going, no, it wasn't a revolving door. He's mouthing, no. So he's testifying from the defense table. Another judge would have shut this down. But this Judge Edward is pretty laid back. So that video of Dave is on the Gibbers channel, GHIBERCZ. I don't know if I said J by accident, but it's G, okay? And it's too filthy. It's too filthy a joke for me to share here. But, and like I said, it was filmed by Bree, Charlie's baby mama, who worked for Dave as his nanny before Charlie got with him. So Charlie's saying, no, I didn't have a revolving door of women. It was more like, I don't know what you would say. It was more like a regular door, just frequent knocks and visits. And you can see he has this kind of perpetual juvenile quality to him. And I think Georgia Kappelman really summed it up when she said he was part black sheep, part mama's boy. So he desperately needs the approval of his mother. We know that he barely made it through, almost flunked out of dental school, needed the help of the Broward County judge, who was a friend of the Adelson family, to push him through dental school, because otherwise he was flunking out with their connections. Only with their connections did he make it through. Harvey Adelson broke one of his patients' jaw. Not only broke the jaw, broke the cheekbone and something even like basically split open a person's face, which is like a nightmare, like doing dental work. So little bit of shady stuff going on, or a lot of accidents going on at the Adelson Institute. They were sued, I believe, multiple times for malpractice.
I don't understand the question.
She didn't mind if he went from girl to girl to girl. That was acceptable.
She didn't really weigh in on it, no.
Who talked to her more, you or Charlie?
Charlie.
A lot more, right?
Yeah.
At the time of Dan Markel's murder, were your parents extremely angry with Dan?
At that point, no. They were in a much better place.
I want to direct your attention to an interview that was conducted on, I think this was your law enforcement interview. So July 18th, 2014. And I'm specifically for court and counsel looking at page 27, lines 11 and 12.
It's so interesting looking at this, knowing that Charlie thought he was winning. And he's turning green here. He's like, I just have to suffer through this indignity of having my sister testify. He can barely look at her. And then I can make my case and wait till I get up on the stand. But he thought that this was going great. It's amazing in retrospect.
I've got it open to the page, but you can flip around if you need to familiarize yourself.
Sure.
And I'll take that exhibit if you want.
Do you want me to flip through or just look at this one page?
If you'll just look at that one page, well, I mean, not that reminder. 27. Let me get to where you are. So page 27 there, lines 11 and 12, and I've got it highlighted for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Says, Ms. Adelson, my parents are, very angry toward him. Is that true?
Was that
Isn't that
true?
what you said? Your parents were very angry toward Dan.
Can I read the rest of the sentence?
Sure.
So I say, my parents are very angry towards him, but even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father.
And then on page 288, line 24 through page 289, line 1. And that's going to be, didn't you say, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else? Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
Oh, it just drives me crazy the way she points. Are you asking me about? It just makes me want to slap her in the face. I don't know. It really pushes my buttons. I don't know about you guys. Are you asking about this tapping on the page as she's asking? Are you asking me about this where I said my brother might be behind this? Are you asking me about that? We're at my brother's trial, the totally significant part of my police questioning. You're asking me about that, or are you asking me about a more insignificant moment? Oh, it drives me crazy. Thank you so much, Miss Lisa. That red dress is certainly not kosher style. Great point. Yeah, little inappropriate for a religious ceremony. We're here to honor God and my son becoming a man, but here are my breasts. Take a good look. It's so odd. All right, back to Wendy and her tapping. That drives me mad.
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or
didn't
potentially
you?
someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you. And that's what happened, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
And back to the divorce, the petition where Danny is responding to your petition for the motion to relocate. Are you familiar with that filing, or do you need to take a look at it?
I need to take a look at it.
All right, it's going to be page 79 through 101, and this is back to our exhibit 56.
Is anybody watching the Michelle Troconis trial? I believe someone turned me on to that in this chat. And now, of course, I'm hooked. It's the only trial I've ever seen where they waived opening statements. I've seen or read about, certainly in Robert Marshall's trial, in the sentencing phase, they both waived arguments, closing arguments to the sentencing phase, but I've never seen that happen. So the jury gets no opening statements. But anyway, it just reminds me of Wendy saying she doesn't understand the valedictorian, the woman who's won all sorts of different scholarly awards, graduated summa cum laude from Brandeis. She doesn't understand the question. I love when she says that. But it's, and always demanding to see the evidence that Georgia Kappelman is referring to. And it reminds me of what we saw in the Robert Durst trial and what we're seeing in the Michelle Troconis trial. So Michelle Troconis says she doesn't speak English well. She needs a translator. So she has these little, and in the Durst trial, he was too deaf and old. He needed an iPad with real-time stenography coming up so he could read the questions. When John Lewin, who is deaf himself, wears hearing aids himself, it's not a secret, he said it in the trial, is sitting like a foot away, a foot away from him, asking him the questions very loudly. So it's just a way to get an advantage, to stall. You're hoping that the prosecutor doesn't have the evidence available or handy, so you can have a pass on the questions. Just a way to get an advantage, get a little advantage in court. So this is what Wendy's up to. But yeah, boy, am I hooked on that Michelle Triconis trial.
And again, that was the filing begins on page 79. I'm specifically interested in 82.
Yeah, it looks like in the Michelle Triconis trial, it looks like a very strong defense attorney, and looks like a weaker prosecution team, just from what I've seen so far. And this defense lawyer has this judge bamboozled over luminol. So luminol is a thing that you spray on blood, and he has him bamboozled that, it does react to root vegetables, not the same way it reacts to blood, but he's having him say a much, much weaker response. But it's just like the Amanda Knox supporter saying that the reason her footprints were visible under luminol, and it was because she rubbed root vegetables all over her feet, her bloody footprints. So it's the same kind of thing. I'm afraid she's going to get off. Okay, enough about that trial. Back to this trial. I'm just shocked. I'm really worried right now. I hope the prosecution makes a comeback, but it's not looking good right now.
And in this filing, doesn't Mr. Markel say, quote, the husband affirmatively alleges that the wife helped herself to non-marital assets, including money and stocks owned prior to marriage, as well as numerous personal non-marital belongings of the husband, such as luggage, bicycle, tennis racket, and family heirlooms. The wife has refused to return these items or to allow the husband into her home to see what other personal belongings were taken without his permission or acquiescence. So my point is, he's accusing you of theft in this paragraph.
Those are the words that are here, yes.
Yeah, and he's...
Thank you, Kim. Kim says judge was not bamboozled and the defense lost both of those motions. Thank you, Kim. You can see where I'm at the trial. He was considering those motions. Great. That's great news, Kim. Thank you so much. Fantastic news. I'm so worried. I'm watching it so nervous and worried because the way I see it, she really looks very guilty to me, to my eye. So that's where I'm at with that trial. I might be doing a show on it, but I have to catch up. So thanks, Kimar, for that. Appreciate it. Thank you, T. Kinsella. Seeing Wendy today, I needed eye wash. Seriously, the energy in this chat is the support I need by seeing Wendy Adelson try to erase Markel family. Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it? And take spotlight from her son on this day is so sick. Yeah, the way she had her arm, all I could look at was her, right? She's in a bright red dress, half, not very clothed. And even as a woman, that's all I'm looking at is Wendy on stage. So she's in a silk. It's a beautiful dress. I'm not saying nothing against the dress. Other people are saying it's a robe. Obviously, I'm partial to it because it's bright red, but not appropriate for the occasion. So I'm so glad you're getting some support. Maybe this is a support group. Kat, Joselle, attention pearl clutchers, please move along. Keep up the fantastic coverage, Roberta. Yeah, it's, I'm not bothered by it. I just want to make my position clear. I have a lot of new people listening. this is where I come from a very victim-centered prosecution. A little bit, I'm much more partial to the prosecution. However, I do like the defense to be strong. I like to see good trials. So, but it's a little sad, and I'm so glad, Kim R. Thank you for telling me. I'm glad that the defense is losing those ridiculous motions. So yeah, thank you, Kat, for the super chat. I appreciate it and the support. So
very adamantly objecting to your relocation, right? On page 82, it says the sole stated reason the wife seeks to relocate is so that she can be closer to her parents. Was being near your parents the sole reason that you wanted to relocate?
No,
It wasn't the sole reason stated in your petition?
it wasn't the sole reason stated in my petition, and it wasn't the sole reason that he and I talked about before I filed the motion to relocate.
Why was he so adamant and so confident that this was the real reason you wanted to be down there?
I think there's a lot of things in these pleadings that are not true. So just because it says something doesn't make it true.
Sure, but did he know that your mom was just grinding on this issue of trying to get you down there?
He would have had no idea.
He wouldn't have been, that wouldn't have been known to him?
I don't think so.
But he was accusing you in these pleadings of all kind of stuff, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but hiding financial assets, failing to disclose things, kidnapping his kids in the middle of, his business trip, all those sorts of things, right?
Yes, he said lots of things.
All right. And you said a lot of things too. There's filings going both ways that are pretty venomous. Would you agree with that?
I would not agree with that.
Yours were pleasant.
I'm not saying divorce filings are pleasant, but mine were not venomous.
Okay. Did your mother, Donna Adelson, review the filing in which...
So why is she lying about something that's easily proven like that? We know they're venomous, and shout out to AA Legal Focus, Judy. And I believe that was Donna is her first name. Am I right? Or is it Dawn? I'm sorry, Dawn. I have Donna on the brain. Dawn, who are reading, excuse me, I have to cough. Who were reading those divorce papers, and it's up on their channel. It's an old video that Judy just put up again, and it's venomous. And what Wendy's saying is it wasn't venomous because I'm not a person who would be so angry in a divorce. It all came right. She's always the victim. You have to remember, Wendy is always the victim in her story, in her storytelling. She always plays the victim. So that's what it's about. And Murder by Maestro, I got it. Thank you so much. Got your email.
Dan Markel is accusing you of this theft and all this stuff.
I don't remember if she did.
What about the one where Dan Markel is asking that your mother not be permitted to have unsupervised visitation with the kids?
My mom never saw that because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. My mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So there was nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed, and my mom never saw it.
Why do you think he...
It's the famous banana bread defense. I baked him banana bread. You have to taste my banana bread. It smooths over all sorts of problems and ills. Once you have my banana bread, crisis over. Legal problems resolved. It's the magical banana bread. There's no need to go to murder. We would never plan a murder. Not this family. This story is so stupid.
He filed that.
He was really angry at me for leaving him.
Okay. So he didn't really want to limit your mom.
See, he was angry. It wasn't that she was angry too. It was only coming from one side. Dan Markel was angry, but Wendy wasn't. That's why she went in, cleared out the bank accounts, cleared out the house, left the divorce papers in the home. And Dan Markel didn't know where his kids were. That's another thing she lies about on the stand. Oh, the kids would have been in bed and it wasn't like me kidnapping them. It was a real issue. He didn't know where they were. And he took the next flight. He canceled. The whole reason he flew out from Tallahassee to New York to give a talk, and he canceled it to run home and try to save his marriage. And that's what he was greeted to. And, that happened to my dad. He came home and the whole house was empty. This is his stepfather had cleared out the whole house. Something he talked about his whole life. It's traumatizing. So she wasn't mad. She just was so scared of him. She had to do it while he was away. Always the victim. It's nauseating.
Visitation with the kids.
No.
And
he
that's
asked for her to
evidenced.
babysit after he filed that.
Evidenced by the banana bread. And so she didn't even know about that filing.
She never knew about it.
Okay. And when she laid all those options out in that email to you about other options that you could take to relocate to
Okay. And I love how Georgia Kappelman is like, it's the banana bread. She finds it ridiculous too. Thank you so much, Roman Zelinsky. Good name. For the super chat, this is for the banana bread. Thank you. The magical banana bread. We never heard about this banana bread. I don't believe it, unless I'm forgetting. I don't believe until this trial. This is a news story. So when you hear news stories, your memory is not as good. But for Wendy, her memory is better over time. She remembers more details. It's outrageous. It's so dumb. And you can hear Georgia Kappelman having the same answer. But speaking about Donna and her magical banana bread, hold on. Thank you, Murder by Maestro. Check out his channel. Great stuff on his channel. I don't just say that because he's my moderator. Here's Donna. We actually have a shot of her fighting over the phone, not giving up her phone from Reddit. Arrest photos. You can't have my phone. Here she is. I'll try to get a better shot for next time, but it's just a little screen grab for now. Can you imagine being there for that tug of war between her and her phone? My lawyer said not for me to hand over my phone. So a lot of people speculated that was Charlie told me not to hand over my phone, or was it Rashi? What do you guys think? I don't know if it's something she made up just as an argument. They lie so much, this family. It's hard. They're very unreliable narrators, both all of them. Charlie, Donna, Wendy, the whole family. You can't really go on their word.
secure the relocation as far as bribing. Remember that? Converting the Christian children to Christianity. Remember that suggestion?
I sure do.
Okay. What did she put in there that she viewed as your most non-negotiable and most important part of your divorce?
I don't know. Do you have something I can see?
States Exhibit 57. And it is page 1. Page 1, paragraph 2.
So you want me to read what she said here?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part?
Of the divorce for my mom.
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
All right. And did you have 2 8-hour mediations in your divorce?
We had 2 very long mediations. I don't remember exactly how long they were, but they
Did
felt
they
like a very
result
long
in a
time.
resolution?
No.
Was Mr. Markel seeking to depose your mom as part of the divorce?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that. Check out the society page. I wish I could play it. I can't play it because of the music copyright. My whole stream would be pulled down if I played it. But society page has got a great video about Wendy Adelson. I think I put it up in my Georgia Kappelman Appreciation Society, in that it just makes me cry. But it's just that how many times she says, I don't remember, I don't recall. It's something that lawyers tell you to do because you can't be charged. You can be charged with perjury, but you can't be charged with a bad memory. Let's put it that way. It's Miss Lisa. Thank you so much. Roberta, I live for your lives. You and your chat are all class. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're enjoying them. Kind of amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a witness like this. Just with immunity. I don't think I've seen very many witnesses testifying under immunity, if at all. And just, I mean, whenever I see a witness, I've seen a lot of cooperative witnesses like Luis Rivera, but under this kind of immunity, I don't know. I can't think of another one. Probably have, but I can't. And when they do, they usually testify truthfully. So it's because, to my mind, it just exemplifies how they're all connected in this murder plot. So if you had immunity and you weren't involved, you'd go up there and say what you knew. But instead, she's lying about things like she didn't have a really terribly contentious divorce, which everybody recognizes. Even Charlie testified that they fought over everything, dumb things. I think he said bicycles, but tennis rackets, I know, is one of them. It was really ugly. And my theory on why Dan Markel was so hated, and later on why Jeffrey Lacoste took the place of being so hated, is because they're the truth tellers. Anyone who tells the truth about the real nature that is so different than this shiny veneer that Wendy and this family have really tells what's going on the surface, that she's a deeply disturbed, Jeffrey Lacoste says, psychopathic, antisocial personality. Let's put it that way. Maybe better way to put it. You're going to be public enemy number one. And it goes with these kind of very cult-like families. They make their own truth. Very creepy.
Do you know if it ever happened?
I don't think it happened. I don't remember it.
Was the prospect of that upsetting to your mom?
I don't think so. I don't remember it. So I don't remember talking with her about it. Or
did your mom call Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I
Okay.
don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him an asshole?
Yes.
A narcissist? A
Yes.
bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes.
Bastard?
That I don't remember.
Page.
So, wow, isn't that the kettle? Calling the pot black. Calling Dan Markel a narcissist. Donna calling him a narcissist. But you have to really pay attention to that religious zealot. That's what bothered them the most of anything. And that's why they started this fight over the kosher food right at the wedding. Forget all that stuff, Dan Markel. Forget your faith, your silly faith, and your silly eating rules, religious eating laws. That's what kosher is. If you want to be with our great prize or have our great prize, and you have to remember that according to Dan's friends and the victim impact letters, Wendy had broken off the engagement before this. So if you want to stay with Wendy, if you want this great prize, you're going to have to give all that up. And if you call someone a religious zealot, that's someone who's dangerous. So this family saw not themselves, not the people plotting who ended up plotting a murder, a successful murder by hire, nonetheless, as dangerous. But in typical Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim offender style, they're going to call Dan Markel dangerous via calling him a religious zealot. That's someone who can't be reasoned with, can't be trusted because they're so crazy, and their entire loyalty is to this faith, to the exception of everything else, to the exception of everything rational. So they're totally irrational. Eye roll. I mean, whatever the equivalent of religious zealotry for money, this is a family that worshipped money.
Page 5.
Is it page 5 from the first email?
Yes, if you'll just go through by the physical pages.
I see. Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Yes.
Fucker?
Yes.
But in all the filings made on your behalf by the different lawyers that you had, and all of the emails that your mom sent, he was never described as abusive.
I mean, he was described as emotionally abusive, yes.
Can you show me where he was described as emotionally abusive in any of those items?
Well, not by my mom, but in the pleadings.
Okay, show me that.
It's going to take me a while to find it.
Okay, well, it's
You want me to
not in there, but you can get back to me
Well,
with it.
it is in there.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's your objection?
The comment, she's not testifying.
Hold on, please approve.
So would you have to review the whole file in order to find that, or could you give us a starting point of which filing it might be located in?
It might be under the petition to relocate. It might be under the initial divorce proceedings.
It might be in my imagination, Your Honor. I would trust Georgia Kappelman over Wendy Adelson as a narrator. If Georgia Kappelman says it's not in there, I would say it's not in there. But okay.
It wouldn't be in emails from my mom, but it would take a while to find it. It might be in the depositions.
Okay, did you view yourself as being stuck here in Tallahassee once the relocation was denied?
I didn't. I mean, I had a really nice life here. I did not view myself as being stuck.
Would you please turn to page 176 in that exhibit in front of you? I think it's highlighted for you. Did you describe yourself in that filing as being stuck in Tallahassee?
I don't see it. You said it was highlighted, but there's nothing highlighted.
Okay. 176
Mhm.
on page. I didn't highlight it for you. Okay. Just a moment.
I see the word stuck. I found it.
Okay. So did you describe at least in one occasion being stuck in Tallahassee?
No, can I read the sentence?
Sure.
So it says, the husband has made it difficult for the wife with her colleagues at her current position due to his statements and actions. And the husband's intent is to relocate to a larger area at some point. So the wife is merely stuck in Tallahassee until the husband decides that the time is right for him to leave.
All right.
Meaning-
And had he accepted a job anywhere else by the time that he was murdered?
No, he hadn't yet been offered a job, but he was always looking.
Okay. So he was just going to move and just let you have the kids at that point?
Someone else who knows the case a little bit better than I do. Was Dan Markel looking for another job? I don't see, I haven't ever heard that before, but have you guys heard that? Let me know. I think that's part of Wendy's fantasy, but I don't know for sure.
He probably would have done what I did, which is have a conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
Wendy loved Tallahassee. That's why she wanted to take a staycation. Remember Jeffrey Lacasse's police interview? I love that part. She wanted to take a staycation right before the murder, strangely. And I was telling my friends, you know what Wendy wants to do? She wants to take a staycation in Tallahassee. So the chat is saying, no, that only Wendy says that he was always looking for another job. But it's almost a believable lie there because Dan Markel was so well educated and so ambitious that it almost sounds, that's a lie that almost sounds believable. But because I know Wendy's track record of lying, if that were the truth, he would, I would think, gladly move to resolve this issue. Even to move to New York to be with Amy Adler, who is Jonathan Adler, the designer's sister, and quite a beautiful woman, and apparently her students love her, and her field is art, is the legal issues around art and art ownership. I think it's so interesting. Apparently her classes, if you read the reviews of her class, they're rave reviews.
And you said, I think you did say this, but let me clarify. Was your mom aware of the order denying relocation?
My mom was aware of the order denying
And
relocation.
what about your brother, Charlie? Was he aware of that as well?
I'm
If you
sure
know?
my mom would have said something to him.
All right. So did your mom suggest any ways that you might coerce Dan Markel to let you move with the kids to South Florida?
Yes, I think we talked about that before.
We did. And for this, I'm referring back to those emails. And in particular, the bribe. So another bribe to get him to allow relocation. I'm on page 5 of the first email for the defense. Another bribe to get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets so that he can fly back and forth, right? So you're going to potentially offer this big monetary benefit that would allow him to fly back and forth to work. Is that the idea?
I never said that I was going to do any of that.
Okay, was that the idea that your mom had?
That was the idea.
All right, and the amount of the bribe is going to be, or was at least discussed as being $1 million. Is that right?
That is what they said.
Okay, and did you agree with that?
No.
Would that have worked?
I have no idea if it would have worked, but
You think he might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida and he would have commuted back and forth to his job. So maybe,
Well, then why wasn't it offered?
because I didn't want to do it.
All right, what about the idea that you could try to threaten Dan to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest that.
Okay, and specifically, this is on page 7 of the exhibit. let gibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time.
She did, yes.
Okay.
It's so interesting that we don't know what Wendy's response was to any of these emails. Not in evidence. Hasn't been presented. And so here she is giving the slow blinks and the sad nods like, yes, my mom's impossible. Oh, it was terrible. But we know we have Charlie's response was, yeah, it's great. Way to go. That's great. Dress up the kids in SS uniforms. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. So I'm 3/4 Jewish, but I was raised Quaker. My dad converted. My mom's half Jewish. And she was raised Quaker. So my dad converted to her faith, and was raised as a Quaker. But I would never, ever dress up anyone in my family. I wouldn't dress up my cats or dogs in SS uniforms. So to my mind, that shows a lot of self-hate as a Jew. To even suggest that, even as a plan of revenge, even as a button pusher, this is a family that loves using that phrase. Not that they were dropping a bomb and it was war. They just wanted to push buttons. You know, what a euphemism.
And did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Do you know whether the defendant, your brother Charlie, was supportive of the plan to convert them or pose as converting them to Christianity?
I have no idea. I don't think he was particularly involved in this round of my mom's emails.
On page 11 of the exhibit, there's an indication from your mom that Charlie at least has discussed this with her and maybe is somewhat supportive. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show gibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. And Charlie was at least consulted on it or had offered some information about it.
Well, that was my mom's rendition, so I don't know if that's what actually happened or that was her perception.
Sure. Were you involved in the effort to consult a lawyer about the bribe and whether that was going to be legal?
I wasn't the lawyer consulted in that.
No. Were you involved in consulting a lawyer with your mom? Okay.
Oh, that's funny. So that's whole Remember Rashi's opening? They even went to a lawyer to see if bribing was legal. See, this family isn't going to do something like plot a murder. They're even going to a lawyer to see if this bribe is legal. And George is asking Wendy, were you involved in that? No, I wasn't involved in that. I didn't care. I didn't care about the bribe. Even though it was supposed to be 1/3 of her money put into it, wasn't it? Wasn't 1/3 of her money, or was it Harvey? Harvey and Donna are one. Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was 1/3. Did I understand that incorrectly? And for those of you asking about Quakerism, no, I don't go to Quaker meeting anymore. And no, it is not conservative. It's the opposite of conservative. Very, 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 very service oriented. I think you guys are thinking of Amish. It's not like that. And yes, Nixon was a Quaker, but he was the kind of Quaker that was from the Midwest, like James Dean, the actor, was also a Quaker. They have ministers, and the kind on the East Coast don't. So that's enough about me. Probably boring you guys all to death. Okay, back.
Do you know for sure if any financial offer was or was not made to Dan Markel?
I couldn't say for sure if they made it to Danny without me knowing, but I don't think so.
Is that something they would do, is try to negotiate with him behind your back or deal with this situation behind your back?
I don't think so. I think I would have known. Danny probably would have told me.
But you definitely didn't extend any of these offers or threats.
No.
When was the divorce final?
The summer of 2013.
All right, I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk about phone stuff. Was your cell phone collected by the police in this case after Dan was shot?
I gave the police my cell phone and asked them to search it if it could be useful.
All right, and around the time of the murder, was your number 954-803-0079?
It was.
And can you agree that the numbers, let me show you an exhibit. 59, I believe. You will? Okay. Well, I want to explain what it is. Okay. Yeah, so I talked a lot about converting to Christianity, but I didn't mention what religion you are. We talked about Dan being more religious than you are, but we didn't talk about what religion you are. So could you?
I'm Jewish style. It's a very liberal sect of Judaism. I'm just referring to her kosher style. So on the stand, she tried to argue that Danny was upset not because there was no kosher food at his own wedding and that his own rabbi left because he couldn't eat anything. And I mean, it's just so rude. It's like the rudest, most aggressive thing you can do pretty much at a wedding that I've ever heard done as a wedding. I mean, if you think her low-cut dress at this bar mitzvah is offensive, it's nothing in my mind compared to. So they split the cost of the wedding to not having kosher food at this wedding when so many of Danny kept kosher. So Dan Markel couldn't eat at his own wedding, and so many of his friends and family kept kosher. And so what Wendy said was like, no, it was just a misunderstanding. It was Danny's misunderstanding. See, it's never her fault. She's always the victim. She's the victim of Danny's misunderstanding. He thought it was going to be kosher style, which would be the equivalent. So I said there was really no such thing. What she wants to, there is such a thing, but it's like hot dogs, like Nathan's hot dogs, which things they wouldn't have at a wedding. So there is a phrase kosher style, but it's really like saying, so there's a lot of my husband's a vegetarian and we had vegetarian style food there. It just had a lot of meat in it. What? Why was he upset? It was a misunderstanding. We told him we were going to have a lot of food with a lot of vegetables in it, vegetarian style. So yeah, that's how that whole thing went down. So she's Jewish style. So essentially she is Jewish, as an identity, but not as faithfully. And there's a lot of non-religious Jews who feel that way, but it's a terrible match for someone like Dan Markel, who was so observant and became more so.
Could you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure, I'm Jewish.
And Dan was as well, right?
And Danny was Jewish as well.
Okay. So I had this exhibit 59. This is not 59. Yes, that's what we did. One moment. All right. you may not be able to do this, but states 59, I've got phone numbers attributed to your family members. Obviously, you don't know the other people. Are those phone numbers accurate, if you know, for the time
Yes.
frame around the murder?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then you are also familiar with the wiretap that was conducted in this case?
Yes.
And did I provide you a disc labeled disc 107, ask you to review some calls and see if you could authenticate the voices on those calls?
Yes.
All right, and for that, I made you a little spreadsheet, which I've marked as 61. And were you able to initial by each call indicating that?
Wow, did you guys see all that intense blinking? It's almost like her brother's weird blinking that she's doing there for a minute.
The highlighted names are the voices of the people they purport to be.
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I asked to move to evidence state 61.
Any objection?
No objection.
State 61 is admitted.
All right, and if we can shift back to, we talked about your divorce being final. Once the divorce was final, weren't there still a lot of filings that went back and forth between both you and Dan Markel?
Yes and no. The divorce was final. We had a final settlement agreement.
Mhm.
The agreement was I take my name off the title to the house. He pays me half the value to the house. So for within the first week, I went and took my name off the title to the house, and I waited until October when he was supposed to get back to me. He never paid me the money. And so I called and I asked what happened. That was the deal. And he said, I have compelling reasons. I'm not going to pay you. And so I made one filing, a motion to enforce the settlement agreement because he didn't do it.
Right, so you believe that he owed you money pursuant to the settlement agreement? And he was
Yes,
in violation of the settlement agreement?
yes,
And he was of the belief that you had withheld some financial things from your affidavit, and maybe he didn't owe you the money that you had previously agreed on because you had not been honest in the initial disclosures, right?
he accused my attorney of having unclean hands and committing a crime.
Yeah, and assist.
With a lot of evidence that you did commit a crime. Apparently, she said she had no jewelry, hardly any assets, very much like Katie McManawa. Like 0, I had no jewelry, nothing. And she submitted that and said, oh no, it was in another filing. Check out AA Legal Focus's reading with Dawn DeQuisto. Both of them read it together. It's an old video she just recently uploaded, and she goes through the legal filings. They do a great job of it. And yeah, so it's not like he was just accusing it because he was such a religious zealot and so irrational and wildly crazy. No, that's what was happening.
Assisting you and withholding this money from the
Correct.
disclosures. Okay. All right, so I want to ask you about the motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and hold Dan Markel in contempt of court. That was filed, you may need to refresh your memory, October 31st, 2013. Give you the exhibit 56 and have you take a look at, this is going to be on 338. All right, could you just read the title, the caption of that filing?
Motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and to show cause why the former husband should not be held in contempt of court.
What does it mean to be held in contempt of court?
It means not to be doing what the court has asked you to do.
What can happen to you if you're held in contempt of court?
I don't know really.
Could you be jailed?
I don't know.
All right. And when was this filed?
So there are all sorts of different sanctions. He was asking the court to sanction Wendy, and on the lower level, the court could have just given her a lecture and said this is conduct unbecoming to a lawyer who's submitted these documents under penalty of perjury, but she's also testifying under penalty of perjury. Even though she has immunity, her immunity is contingent on her testifying truthfully. So when we talk about the Castigar issues, we're talking about meaning that she can't be in a worse position testifying than had she taken the fifth, right? It always makes me think of the Chappelle Show, taking the fifth. So that's on the low end. The court could just give her a lecture. On the really extreme punishment, they could have taken away her law license. And think about, if you go through law school, how hard it is, how hard you have to work to go through law school and do all that reading and work, and to have it all undone because your ex-husband, who you hate, rightfully points out that you're lying to the court and acting in a conduct unbecoming for a lawyer and unbecoming for a teacher of the law. So she could have also lost her job. That was a big bomb to throw into this war. And he had the evidence to prove it. It wasn't like an idea. There were the filings where she's saying, I have no jewelry, no this, no that, no money, etc. She totally, in my opinion, from what I heard, lied about her finances. And she said, oh, no, it's in another filing. Just the way that she lies on the stand, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. Don't sue me, Wendy. So, yeah.
This was you filing it, right? I mean, you're the client.
Right.
You're asking that he be held in contempt. And you don't know
filed
what
this.
that means?
I mean, at the time I filed, which was 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. We'll refresh your recollection with the
Okay.
document. Goes through 340.
Okay, I have it.
Okay. So what was it you were asking for in this motion?
It was what I just mentioned. So basically, I took my name off the title to the house. He never paid. This was asking him to pay.
Cough up the money or be held in contempt?
Yep.
Okay. And what day was this filed?
This was filed on October 31st, 2013.
All right, so Halloween of 13, and that's the same day that you backed out of the contract to purchase the house in Tallahassee, right?
I don't
You remember
remember
that?
what day that was.
Okay. Do you remember that it was your brother, Charlie, that specifically convinced you to back out of that particular house deal?
I don't actually. I don't remember that.
See the way Rashi covers his mouth? That's very much like the way you see lawyers behave. They're always aware that someone could read lips in the audience. He doesn't want, same thing we see with Wendy. We see her erasing her text messages using WhatsApp. And that's what makes me very nervous, that there might not be a whole lot of evidence of her participation because they're so careful. That gets drummed into them. Donna, not so much. I think that she got very loose. This is just my opinion, just my psychic prediction. I think there might be a lot of text messages. People get very relaxed with their text messages. So word to the wise, if you are, I'm going to take a quick break here, just rest my voice for a second. If you are doing something illegal, do not text it. I know you think that it can't be read or nobody will find it, but they will find it. Let me tell you. Sat through so many civil depositions where it comes up, where people are really, really, it's like a big bomb when their text messages come up. And usually right after they've just lied about something. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back meet you on the other side of the break. Be back in 35 seconds. See you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay. That was not quite long enough break, but I think my voice is sufficiently rested. Thank you so much, Tammy. Very kind of you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Back to Wendy's amazing testimony. For those of you who are just tuning in, I live stream every day, but Tuesdays and Fridays, and always at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
And see if these text messages refresh your recollection. Okay. And you may have to look around for context, but I'm specifically looking at this one. Okay.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Honestly, I mean, I can read what's here, but I still don't remember.
Don't
it
really
independently.
remember.
And after pulling the plug on the house, there were some emails where you were saying you can't answer the phone, you're crying too hard about the house.
Like you seem genuinely upset about pulling the plug on the house, but now you don't remember it?
Well, it's been 10 years.
Sure.
So a lot of terrible things have happened since then. It's hard to remember.
She pulled the plug on the house. She's crying about the house. But how many tears have we seen for Dan Markel here? Spoiler alert, none. It's just like her to just weep over something that happened to her in her life. She just seems to be someone who completely lacks empathy. And even the tone and I don't know, is there even a word, emotional texture? I don't know, like emotional, how do you even say that? She doesn't seem to get, okay, here, I'll put it this way. She doesn't seem to get, her emotional tone doesn't change from talking about the murder to talking about her mother's emails. It's always the same emotional notes. She's hitting the same emotional notes. That's what I was looking for. Emotional notes all through. The only time it changes is when it comes to Georgia Kappelman accusing Wendy. And I think I have a little, a little clip of that I can show you if you're interested, but it's the opening clip where she gets accused of being a part of this, of accusing her family and saying her family's a part of it, thus making her a part of it, or driving by the crime scene, those kind of things. I did not drive by that's when the emotional notes change. But never about Danny's murder. There's never any sadness. And I'm not expecting her to cry, but just any kind of the stoicism or emotionality that we see. So either side of the spectrum of normal behavior or anywhere in between, it's so off the spectrum of what we'd expect on either side that it's very odd.
I really liked the house and was excited about it, but it was more than I can afford at the time. That's what I remember, is talking with the real estate agent and having her say we'd find another house, and it wasn't the right one.
Would you have any reason to dispute that occurred on Halloween of 2013?
No, it probably did. I just don't remember.
Okay, and then a few months later, on February 14th of 2014, there was another filing. I want to draw your attention to page 379. I'm ask you what that document is.
Do you want me to read the title of the document?
Yes, please.
So thank you, Rabbit, for bringing to my attention. So the day she pulled the plug on the house is also the date that Charlie was asking Katie McManawa if she knew anyone who could rough someone up. So very interesting timing. So you would think that there's a possibility in that was the date. It wasn't about pulling the plug on the house. So she pulled the plug on the house because she knew she wouldn't need it, and that the family had all decided to go the murder route. And so she's crying for herself because she knows she's going down a risky route, a route where her whole life is going to change. And so she's kind of mourning, not Danny or the loss of her children's father, but she's mourning the life that she had come accustomed to. Because in my opinion, she was part of this decision. It was a decision she made. It wasn't made for her. And I don't know if everyone would agree with me, but that's how I see it.
Her husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions.
Do you remember this filing?
I don't remember this filing, but in anticipation of my testimony today, I refreshed and reread it.
Okay, and he accuses you in this filing of breaching the marital settlement agreement in various ways, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and committing a fraud upon the court by omitting the $200,000 in assets from your financial affidavit.
That is what he was alleging.
And asked the court to sanction you.
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay, so again, you're both seeking the court to sanction each other. I mean, them's fighting words and lawyer terms, right?
Well, I was filing a motion to enforce a settlement agreement, so I don't think that's really fighting words. That's just asking the court to complete what it already said it wanted to do.
Okay. And on page 379.
Yeah, but Wendy, you made those words, meaning that your marital agreement, null and void when you lied about your financial situation, your financial disclosures. And so you knew that was really serious business. Lying on those kind of things is really serious business, even when you're not a lawyer. So when you're a lawyer, it's even more serious. So her whole law license was on the line. Her whole career was on the line. Her whole reputation was on the line. So she's just like, well, I filed that. I just wanted to get my half of the money. But that was decided by what you filed. So Danny was saying, no, I'm asking the court. She hid a lot of lied about it straight up, said she had no jewelry, which we know is untrue because she took the Holocaust diamond. So it's a really important part of this whole story that sometimes gets lost in all the other shocking details.
9. Dan suggests that the court send a strong message about your malfeasance by awarding him the entirety of the undisclosed assets of over $200,000, right?
That is what he asked for.
Okay, and then on March 10th of 2014, on page 437, do you respond with your motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement that we just talked about?
I'm sorry, what is the page number?
437.
I'm not familiar with this, but do you want me to read through it?
Could you read the caption aloud, please?
Sure. Motion.
Okay, before Wendy reads this motion, April Loves Golf has a great comment. This is right on the money, 100%. April Loves Golf says, in my opinion, Wendy's ego was totally demolished in the eyes of her realtor friend. Lack of funds because of Dan withholding divorce settlement, so she couldn't get the house. More impending ego strikes. So much of this family's image is built around the idea that they have unlimited wealth, and where Wendy always has the least amount of money of anyone in the family. And when I talk about the family, I'm really not talking about Robert, the eldest son, who moved away from this family once he figured out that he was surrounded in a family of murderers. And it would have been absolutely April Loves Golf. It would have been crushing to Wendy to be seen as anything less than perfect. Remember, Jeffrey Lacoste says this really succinctly, that the worst thing you could do to Wendy is point out that she's not perfect. Those are my words, not his. But that's a paraphrase. Really important. Great point, April.
Do you see a paragraph?
Forced marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, an incorporated motion for sanctions for failure to state a cause.
All right. I'm going to end this stream before the stream ends. I just had that sort of spooked me, and it's been, what has it been? 2 hours and 34 minutes. And I think that's a meaty stream. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.